And following an introduction by Marion Gallagher, I've always felt that I ought to give a little prayer. One, to forgive her for stealing the show. And second, to forgive me for praying that she never gets the chance to take television time opposite me. Monsignor McEachen, Lieutenant Governor Brickley, and Justice Brennan, Mr. Marco, distinguished members of the bench and bar, and friends of the Thomas Cooley Law School. This public gathering is a kind of combination dedicatory function and Founders Society first annual banquet, with its purpose to support the new School of Law and the already enrolled evening students and the first full-time students enrolling this September. Young people throughout the nation are seeking law training in ever-increasing numbers. The introduction of evening training into a metropolitan area provides one of the last magnificent opportunities for educational achievement by those who, by reason of chance or circumstances, were unable to accomplish the choice of a profession like law when their adult lives began. The experts tell us that within the foreseeable future, there will be need and use for the products of this and every other law school in the legal service delivery system. I extend my heartfelt congratulations to all of you who have brought this additional opportunity for achievement to the young men and women of this state and this nation, and compliment those of you who are here to support it. Of course, I cannot make a public appearance without numerous questions about my role in the Perry Mason series or the Ironside series. Obviously, the foremost purpose of those series, indeed television itself, except for the documentaries and news, is entertainment. Therefore, in my case, there were instances in which the strictest legal requirements may have been skirted, strictest legal rules relaxed. Certainly, this is not to say that technical assistance and legal concerns were not uppermost throughout the series. They were among the foremost of considerations. But if there is, and if there was, a contribution beyond entertainment, perhaps it was best stated in the Gavel Award, one that was given to the Perry Mason Show and one that was given to me, in which credit was given for the continuous demonstration of the notion that the unpopular cause and the unpopular client is entitled to competent representation, and that the presumption of innocence is founded in the logic of human experience and not just in the scripture of American common law. Indeed, if the American people are accepting these principles more readily as the result of the many television shows concerning the legal profession, then I am certainly grateful for having had an opportunity to participate. That notion of the right to competent assistance for the unpopular person or cause obviously is under stress today, as it always is when there are unpopular persons and causes abounding. I hope that notion is strong and becomes stronger. If it is not and does not, we might well bow to a system which could hardly be called one of ordered liberty. My belief in and my concern for our system of justice is one of the reasons I'm here tonight to participate in the founding of this new law school. A new law school represents and presents a magnificent opportunity to develop a program unfettered by the mold of the past and the mold of last season. A program which recognizes the character and quality of the young men and women who will enroll. It's about them that I should like to speak briefly to you. It's also to them that I would like to make some comments. All of us in the whole of this country need to know more about them. We do know that they are coming to the law school with an undergraduate training which has involved in recent years in-depth social inquiry. They have asked the questions, who are we? Where are we going? What are we doing? They've asked these questions of faculty and of administration. We know that they will not cease to ask these penetrating and even on occasion embarrassing questions when they arrive at the law school of their choice. They know that the law school, originally developed as a substitute for training in law in the lawyer's office or in the chambers of the judge, but they challenge this historical fact, urging that it does not justify the law school as an apprentice training ground alone. They chafe sometimes under the notion that the members of the profession outside the halls of the School of Law hold the strings of their curriculum by virtue of the bar examination. They talk about relevancy. And while the term relevancy seems shop-worn, it must mean, as to the law school, that the goals of many of them are to pursue positions in society most lawyers never had before as careers, and that they desire their education to include special preparation for these goals. As I reflect upon the purpose for the establishment of this law school and upon those who founded it, I know that a rational discourse among all who ask and answer these questions will enable the program here to be an exciting educational experience in keeping with the dedication of the young people and the educators who gather here. But before you make much use of this school, this new school, its facilities and its program extremities, let us briefly reflect upon the young person who will come here. Upon this person, and to this person, I feel a slight competence to comment. Upon the methods you educators must use to accommodate the school to this student and the student to the school, I cannot, by my own training and background, claim much or any expertise. I leave that to you, who are eminently qualified and charged with that responsibility. But in carrying that responsibility out, you must certainly look into the backgrounds of the persons with whom you deal. We all know that the ideas, the innovative thoughts, and the deeds of students who have received their baccalaureate degrees in the past few years have indeed affected many things during the 60s. I would like to mention just a few of the things that seem important to me. There are instances where students have held aloft the torch of idealism, yet where they should know that reason and experience dictate that the hard facts of life must also be considered. For worthwhile objectives are obtained only by a neat blending of idealism and realism. Thoreau put it this way: if you have built castles in the air, your work need not be lost. There is where they should be. Now, put foundations under them. Young people have challenged the belief common to many that war is a necessary evil. To them, it is just plain evil. Now, most of us in the over 30 crowd have moved toward the same conclusion. Of course, the question when posed raises the problem of how we transpose from one belief to the other and still retain our integrity and indeed make sure of survival itself. I've no solution to lasting peace. But young people have urged us not to stop trying to find an answer, and a better answer than our history has so far provided. Young people have done much to urge us to substitute love for hate, trust for suspicion, and to have real and true regard for our fellow man. Many of them come to graduate school with much voluntary work and effort, as evidence, certainly, of their contribution to the restoration of those values which have provided a foundation for so much that made America great. Young people have also identified contradictions in our behavior, and we are the richer for knowing that they see the paradox of a rich society that somehow tolerates much suffering of the poor. They point out, and oh, so true it is, that we cannot long endure talking one game and playing another. Youth has lately been very much involved in the processes of politics. We all know that representative government and participative democracy will survive only if there is such involvement. I say to them not to lose their interest. Finally, I've noticed that young people have a strong attitude about equality of opportunity. They practice what many of us preach. All of these factors compel us to recognize a most unusual generation. To those of you of that generation who are here tonight, I say that all of us stand on the threshold of a new decade in which I think there will be a change in emphasis. It will be due in part because many like you will be leaving the world of dialogue and entering the world of deeds. For those of you who have the opportunity to participate in a law school education, you will leave a privileged sanctuary of talking about what should be done in the world and assume the task of doing something about it. What happens to this world will depend on whether you and those of your generation capitalize upon the opportunity to turn high ideals into reality. Problems can be highlighted by the fervor of slogans and rhetoric, but positive, realistic, and workable solutions yield only to patient, disciplined competence. This new law school can be an arena in which workable solutions can and should be found. There is much being said today about the quality of life, particularly as this phrase relates to our environment. Now, your generation deserves much credit for being responsive to this challenge. But I would like to speak of another quality, the quality of man. Words one seldom hears today are civility, taste, refinement. In our rush to follow academic and technical requirements, and our concentration on the perplexing problems of our society and indeed of the world, we seem sometimes to have overlooked what these words mean. They do mean that a truly educated person tries to take one more step beyond the previous generation on the long road to a truly civilized man. We cannot leave any discussion of the quality of man without considering the quality of man's ideals. For there are many today who feel that our greatest threat is not the slowly spreading contamination of our environment, which we are finally recognizing, but the pollution of our ideals. Now, this leads me to a dream. Let us call it the new American dream. There seems to be two basic ways of viewing human life. In one, man is merely an animal of superior intelligence with no meaning whatsoever to his existence beyond his own enjoyment. His only obligation is to get everything he can for himself in the short time he is here on earth and let the chips fall where they may. This is sometimes magnanimously expanded to include as long as you don't harm anyone else. In this view, the materialists of my generation and the do-your-own-thing anti-materialists of your generation are not far apart. The other view of man perceives a dignity, a soul, if you will, that gives value to the sacrifices one makes for others. It says there is something bigger than and beyond ourselves. Only in this view of life does the term ideal take on any meaning. And only in this view is the Q in the quality of man a capital letter. It is only through reason and law that there is any hope for the future. Our new American dream must include the ideal of communications among all the peoples of the world. All of the peoples of the world must deal in the law. If, for instance, Arizona and California, as the case was, can argue for over 25 years over water rights between them and settle the matter without bloodshed in courts, so can the nations of the world, and they must. and it must be and can be done through the legal systems and institutions without challenging the sovereignty of either party. We must adjust our institutions to those of others. Our dream can never really again include imposing only our laws and our institutions upon others. My hope, indeed my dream, is that your generation of Americans will understand fully the need for communication, the need for the true achievement of peace only by the rule of reason and the rule of law. I'm sure that you young Americans here tonight will conduct your lives with great thought about the quality of man, that you will think beyond yourselves, that you will think beyond our borders, that you will participate in all the various institutions in our society so as to bring them all closer together in the common search for a life of equality and quality and the true fulfillment of the new American dream. I say the beginning of this law school, the Thomas Cooley Law School, Thomas Cooley School of Law in Lansing, Michigan, is a great thing. It is bound to be a great success. I have been here only a few hours, but I know the community supports it. From what I have seen here today, I am confident that the Thomas Cooley Law School will merit the confidence you, the students, will place in it. And I'm confident that you will merit the confidence the law school places in you. Thank you very much.